Quickly before we dive into today's episode, if you're a coach and you're craving clear direction, a simple plan to feel confident about exactly what to focus on to launch and grow your business, then make sure you grab a copy of my free Spacious Business Blueprint. It's a simple one-page roadmap and it comes with a 7-minute mini training and walks you through the exact 7 steps to design a simple, effective client attraction system without all the overwhelming guesswork. So head to the link in the show notes to grab your copy and we'll dive into today's episode. If you ever set big business goals in January only to feel behind, overwhelmed, or burnt out by March, then this episode is for you, because the reason that happens is not because of lack of discipline or lack of motivation, and it's definitely not because you're setting too bigger goals. The problem is that most business plans are built around output and not around real life. So today I'm showing you exactly how to plan your 2026 goals from a true life-first foundation so that your business actually supports you instead of burning you out. So grab your notebook for this one, or if you're out on a walk or out driving, just give all these things some thought and then come back to it. It's really going to help you to create a clear plan for going into 2026. So let's dive in. Welcome to the Life First Coaching Business Podcast, where ambitious, purpose-led coaches trade hustle and burnout for simplicity, freedom, and clients who light them up. I'm Leonie, ex-architect and business owner turned business coach. I'm also a mama, a foodie, and a travel lover, and just a little bit obsessed with online business strategy. If you're craving a business that feels spacious, joyful, and actually fun, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll be diving into the strategies, the systems, and the mindset you need to make your coaching business work for you. So let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to today's episode. If this is the first time you've tuned in, welcome. This is quite a cool episode to start with. We're going to be talking all about creating life first goals and vision for 2026. But if you are a returning listener and you're back again, welcome back. It's great to have you. And I'm excited to dive into this one. So the first thing I want to talk about here is this is not just about setting goals, making a vision board. As great as those things are, the piece that's usually missing when it comes to business owners and coaches who want to create something that is flexible and freedom focused and gives them energy is not doing it from a life first perspective. And that is really the foundation of everything I teach and do and support my clients with in my business. So that's what we're talking about today, because when I say the term life first, that's not just a nice term to throw around. It's not just about working on your laptop by the pool. It's actually about designing your business around your life so that it works for you and it's unique to you because your life is unique. So whether that's being able to work school hours or have school holidays off or having location freedom or being able to manage it around health conditions or working in your natural energy and rhythms, a life first business is unique to every person. And this process is about getting clear on your life first vision and then designing your business plan around that so that you know what you're working towards will actually support your life. So it's exciting. It's something I feel really passionate about, and I'm looking forward to sharing it all with you today. Hopefully in a very succinct way that feels highly valuable, but not overwhelming, which is always my aim as well, and gives you just some key takeaways to go away with at the end to set your intentions for the year and set you up for 2026 in the right way. So yes, that's the aim for today. A bit of a different format to usual. There's more of a workshop kind of vibe going on today, which I hope you enjoy. Let me know if you enjoy this episode at the end of it. Please get in touch and let me know. Maybe you'd like more of these kinds of episodes. So to start with, the key thing to understand when it comes to a life first business is there's 3 core pillars that you need to think about. And those pillars are your time, the income that your business gives you, and the energy that you feel in your business. And that's particularly the most important one. So when it comes to your time, you need to be clear on how many hours per week you actually want to work, what days you want protected, what you want your schedule to look like through the day, through the week, through the year. And so like I said, if it's things like school holidays or it's time to travel, whatever that looks like for you, you really want to be clear on that vision and actually get specific about, okay, this is the time I've actually got. How can I make something work in that time? And knowing that obviously your business isn't just time spent working with your clients. You also need time to do marketing, sales, admin, all those other parts of your business where you're not directly getting paid for your time. You need to cover your time when you're working on those actions in your business. So you really need to create a plan that looks at, okay, these are the number of hours I've got, these are the different activities I need to do, and how am I going to fit that into my schedule, and what does that look like? Without getting into the weeds of it right now, that's just pillar 1 to understand. And then pillar 2 is your income, your personal income. So this is not just an arbitrary number that you want your business to bring in, but it's thinking about, okay, what do I want in my pocket or in my bank account at the end of each month? And therefore, what does my business need to bring in to give me that? Because your business has expenses, you have to pay tax, and what's left after expenses and tax is what actually goes to you. So that's the number you want to be clear on. It's the profit first approach, if you've ever heard of the book Profit First. And what's also really important is getting clear on what that number means. So what does that income support in your life? Is it about safety? Is it about freedom? Is it about growth? And again, everyone's income goals will change through the timeline of your business, because maybe if you're just starting out and you're building something on the side of your main job, then your income might not be a big focus for you right now. It might just be about getting yourself set up, and therefore it becomes more of a focus when you are planning to leave your full-time employment or your part-time employment or whatever that looks like. So again, it's completely unique to everyone, and that's okay. And it's also okay for income goals to stretch you and to feel exciting and like a stretch. But equally at the same time, you want to be realistic about how that works within your schedule that we've talked about, and based on the kinds of offers you're creating, and then what that offer requires from you in terms of your energy and your time to make it work. So there's a few things that go into what making that income looks like. And you want to be clear on what does that look like in terms of the number of clients, and therefore the number of time I'm spending with clients based on the type of offer I have. So again, that is something that might evolve as your business evolves. If you go from working one-to-one with clients to then creating a more leveraged offer model, like a group program or a course or a mastermind, then that's when you can start thinking, how can this affect my income? Because it doesn't require as much time from me to make that income. So again, it's a pillar that's always evolving, but getting clear on where that sits for you for the phase of business you're in and what it means. And again, not just setting an arbitrary revenue goal, but actually getting clear on that personal income side of it and knowing that profit first, and then what that means in terms of revenue so that you can pay your business expenses and you can pay your tax. So broad strokes there. Again, I don't want to get too much into the weeds at this time. But that's pillar number 2, your income. And then pillar number 3, arguably the most important one, alignment. How do you feel in the process? And that's the key thing here. It's not just about how you'll feel once you, quote unquote, arrive and once you achieve the goals you've set. But if you can define how you want to feel in the process, what do you want the journey to feel like? And get clear on that, and then build with that in mind. That is a much better way to build a life first business. So thinking, how do I like working? How do I want to feel when I'm working? What do I want my days to look and feel like? Do you want them to feel spacious? Do you want them to feel calm? Do you want them to be filled with connection? Thinking about that alignment piece and reverse engineering from there, again, is really important, because then you can start making decisions about the way you do things in relation to those alignment goals, and having those values set for yourself about what alignment looks like is a really good anchoring point to then think about how you're planning and think about how you're working, about the type of support you get as well. If you're looking to work with a coach, do their values align with yours? And it's really helpful to have those alignment values defined for yourself. And again, they might evolve and they might change over time, but what does that look like for you in 2026? And I'll be giving you questions to think through at the end. But just to give you the broad strokes, those are the 3 pillars. So you've got time, income, and alignment. And it's really important to get clear on those first and then design and reverse engineer your business plan from those 3 pillars. And then the next thing I think it's important to touch on is something I always talk about, the 3 phases of your business being launch, grow, and scale. Because when you think about what's your goal for 2026, it's really helpful to get clear on where in that journey you are in your business and therefore what might be the things that you're looking to focus on. So if you are just starting out and you haven't yet got to the point where you are working with clients and you have an offer that's validated and you know how to attract and sign clients and you've got the systems to help you do that, then you're in that launch phase. You are about setting the foundations, getting everything working for you so you know how to bring clients into your business and deliver that coaching experience. And then you'll move into the growth phase, which is where you might want to start putting more systems into things like your marketing, your admin, so that you can free up more of your time from those activities in your business because you've learned what works, and then you can systemize those things. If you try to systemize things before you've really learned what works, before you're clear on messaging, before you're clear on the things that your clients need to hear in a sales conversation, it can be really difficult to get those things to work. So if you move smoothly from the launch phase to the grow phase, you're taking all that knowledge that you've gained during the launch phase into that grow phase, and that might look like things like email funnels, lead magnets, ads, outsourcing your social media, things like that can be considered in your grow phase because of all the knowledge you gain in the launch phase. And then you can create a system that means you can focus the majority of your time on your clients and know that you've got marketing systems and sales systems working for you in the background, which doesn't mean you don't put any physical time into that yourself. But it means that you're supported. You know that you're not going to drop the ball on that, and you'll always know you've got leads coming into your business and you can convert them. And again, that's going to look different for everyone. It's going to look different depending on how many clients you need to attract and how long people work with you for, what the retention is like, and all those things. So it's really unique to you what you create in that growth phase. And then the third phase is scale. And not everyone needs to go into the scale phase. Again, it depends on your goals related to those 3 pillars. But if you get to a point where you're maxed out with your one-to-one work and you still want to create more impact and income, that's when you go into the scale phase where you'd think, how can I maybe create more leverage in my offers? How can I create more automation? How can I outsource things or maybe take on team? Those are all the things that are going to allow you to scale your business. So every phase is valid. Every phase is, again, unique. But particularly that launch phase, it's really about the foundations, the core foundations of things like your messaging, your positioning, your offer, your sales system. So a really good task just to set yourself up is to think, where am I in that process? Am I in the launch phase, the growth phase, or the scale phase? And therefore, what's my focus? Is my focus about getting my business off the ground? Is it about putting in more systems to free up my time from everything that's not client work? Or is it about scaling so I can create more impact and income without increasing my time? So where are you in that journey is basically the one question that you want to be clear on when you're going into this planning process. And then you can start setting your goals. So for step 1, choose your main goal. And this can be your core anchor of this is what I want to achieve in 2026, whether that's having your first offer launched or launching your group program or having a certain number of clients signed up to work with you. What's that one overarching goal in your business in terms of physical things that have happened? And that can be your anchor for the year. Then you want to run that goal through the 3 pillars. So how many hours per week will this require? What income level does this support? And how do I want to feel while working on this goal? So you know what those pillars are once you've set your overarching goal and you know whether it's about launching, growing, or scaling, then you can start to examine that against those 3 pillars and thinking, this is how much time I've got, this is the income I'd like to make, and this is how I'd like to feel in the process. So almost if you think of it like a pyramid, you've got that overarching goal at the top, then you've got those 3 pillars underneath. And then underneath that is when you then want to start breaking that bigger goal down into smaller chunks. Because when we think about the goal for a year in one big thing, it can feel very overwhelming. And what I love to do and love to help my clients do is break that down into 90-day chunks. And the reason 90 days is great is because it's long enough to achieve something significant, but it's also short enough that you can grapple it in your mind. You can break it down then again into 3 months, and you can clearly give yourself really good milestones in that process to keep you moving forward, knowing that you are building something towards that big year goal. And also what it allows you to do is say, okay, broadly, this is what I think I want to achieve in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. But then only really focus on the detail for the next quarter, because things change, things evolve, and you want to allow that flexibility. You don't want to create a really rigid plan, but just do it for that first chunk. And then you can start to reassess before that Q2. Am I still on the right track? What does Q2 look like now? And just really focus on that first quarter. So once you've got that overarching goal, you've examined it against the 3 pillars, then start to think, how would I break that down across the 4 quarters of the year? And then start planning out the actions for that Q1. What does that actually look like? Is it about a number of clients? Is it about launching something in particular? Is it about getting visible or building consistency in a certain area of your business? So what's that core goal of Q1, and what are the actions that you'll need to take, and what are the outcomes that you're looking for? And if you can get some specificity in those things, that's going to really help you. So if it's, I want to sign 5 clients a month, what actions are going to allow you to do that? And what does that actually look like in terms of action goals and then outcome goals? So that's basically your broad plan for creating your goals and your business, and always relating it back to those alignment values and thinking, what would it look like to do it with those values in mind? What do I need to give myself or to support myself in order for it to feel that way? You want to achieve these things, but most importantly, you know how you want that to feel. And that's the missing piece. That's where things can really start to change once you're clear on those values and you can create a plan with that in mind. And obviously, nothing's going to be perfect. There's always going to be times where you might not feel the way that you wanted. But the goal is that the majority of the time you do it, whether it's calm, spacious, clear, relaxed, or like you're having fun, whatever those values are for you, you want to be able to feel like that the majority of the time. And then you can really choose actions that align with those goals. And there's a couple of really key questions that I always refer back to, and these are from well-known business books. The first one is, what would it look like if it were easy? And Tim Ferriss is the author that talks about this. I find this such a helpful question to ask because we do have a tendency to overcomplicate things, particularly high achievers who care about integrity. And I see it in so many of my clients as well. Often that manifests as overcomplicating things and thinking things need to feel harder than they do in order to be worthy of achieving them. As a consequence of that, we tend to overcomplicate things or fall into that perfectionism. So that question, what would it look like if it were easy, is a really good one to just strip everything back to the bare essentials and not get into that overcomplicating loop and seeing the easier path. Because often we're not programmed to think the easier path is the best path for lots of different reasons in our conditioning. So that is such a helpful question. What would it look like if it were easy? So look at your big goal, look at your Q1 plan and ask yourself, what would this look like if it were easy? Ask yourself, what ways can I make this easier for myself? Because easy and easier is not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you haven't done a good job. And sometimes that is such a shift we need to make in our mindset that if we're taking the easier route, we're not cheating or we're not worthy of the result at the end. So that's a really good one. And then the second question, which is from the book, The One Thing. And the whole concept of this book is to ask yourself, what's the one thing I could do that makes everything else simpler? So it's a similar concept, but it's even more specific in a way, because in this book, he talks about how there's often one thing that's like the tipping point or the domino that sets off all the other dominoes, that if you do that thing, everything else becomes easier or more certain. So ask yourself that question as well. What's the one thing that would make everything else simpler? And these can really help you create that life first approach. And often that one thing is about having a clear plan or having the right support or clearer, better systems and having structures in place that are going to help you take the action or know what action to take can really be that one thing that is the domino that makes everything else easier to tip over, if you like. So with those questions in mind, if you're listening and you're thinking, honestly, the one thing that would make everything else easier and simpler is having a clear life first plan with structure to follow it, that's exactly why I created the Launch Kit. The Launch Kit is my self-paced life first system that helps you build the foundations of your coaching business in a way that actually fits your life. So not an imaginary perfect schedule, but 4 clear phases with all the tools, all the templates, all the step-by-step guides to help you carry it out with ease. It gives you those core pieces that we've been talking about: a clear plan, simple structure, grounded strategy, and support. So you're not constantly overthinking or second guessing or trying to hold everything in your head. So this is the plan I wish I'd had at the start of my business. It's me packaging up everything I see that moved the needle for me when I was starting out. And it gives you structure whilst allowing you to be creative and create something that's unique to you. So if you know that that's what you need, then make sure you check it out. There's a special offer if you're listening to this in December with one-on-one feedback and other bonuses. So make sure you check that out. And of course, if you ever want more hands-on support alongside that, there's the option to add one-to-one coaching as well. So I'll link the Launch Kit and my one-to-one offers in the show notes, and you can take a look and see what feels like the right level of support for you. But the last thing I want to leave you with is another really amazing anchor. And that's to choose a word for the year. You might have heard people talk about this before, but I do find thinking about the word once you've got the broad strokes of the plan, and particularly when you've thought about that alignment piece, is then coming up with your one word, your anchor word, that you can use as your guiding force, if you like. So making sure things feel in alignment to that one word and bringing you back to what you want the year to feel and look like. So again, maybe that's calm or bold or focused or momentum, progress, whatever it is for you, it's a really good one. So that's what I would encourage you to end this session with, is thinking about what's your word for the year. So just to recap on all those points we've talked about, thinking about your core goal for 2026 and whether that's about launching, growing or scaling your business. Looking at what that means in terms of those 3 pillars. What time do you have to put to it? What income do you want it to bring you? And what do you want it to feel like? How's it going to feel aligned with your energy and the values that you want to bring into your business? And then break it down into those 4 quarters, broad stroke, and then just start thinking in more detail about that first 90 days, that first quarter. The 2 questions: what would it look like if it were easy? And what's the one thing that you could do to make everything more certain or more simple? And then choose your word for the year. And actually, I'm just deciding this while I'm talking. But if you'd like this as a quick worksheet, I'll put that together. Go over onto my Instagram at leonie.businesscoach and send me a DM with the word worksheet. And I'll flick you a Google Doc with all of this set out for you in a Google Sheet that you can fill out to do your 2026 plan. But yes, and if any of those offers, if any of that support sounds like what you need, I'll be excited to be opening spots for one-to-one coaching in the new year. And the Launch Kit is also open now with a very special December offer as well. So you can buy now. You don't have to dip into any of it until January or February if you don't want to, but you get some special bonuses and the 2025 price as well if you want to jump into that in December. But I hope today has given you some clarity and made you feel excited about your business in 2026 and what you can achieve, and the fact that you can do it from this life first approach, which is game changing if that's the goal for your business. So thank you so much for tuning in, listening to the end. As always, if you have a second, leave a rating and a quick review and share it with another coach who you know might find this helpful. And I'll catch you again next time. Take care. Before you go, if you're a new coach who wants to start 2026 with a clear plan and a complete client-ready toolkit, then check out the Life First Launch Kit, because right now there's a very special opportunity if you join in December. You'll save $98 on the 2026 enrollment and receive 2 amazing bonuses. Private one-to-one feedback on your complete strategy via personalized video, which you can claim anytime from mid-Jan to the end of Feb. Plus, you'll get the Canva brand kit included completely free. If you're ready to stop circling and start building clean foundations for 2026, you'll find all the details via the link in the show notes.